Okay. So did you try the homework, Abdul Wahid? Okay. Is your mic fixed, Abdul Wahid? What about Heshma? Heshma, did you try these questions?
I did these ones.
You did these, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, your mic is fixed. So can you please unmute yourself, Abdul Wahid? Yes, hello. Okay. So in nickel, how many electrons will be there? Yes, Abdul Wahid, how many electrons? Nickel. 28 electrons. Very good. Okay. Now those electrons, they will try to get filled in the lowest energy state possible, right? The lowest energy subshell. So what is the lowest energy subshell? Tell me. Which S? Which S? 1S, 2S, 3S, 4S, 5S, 6S, which S? You have the order of energy, right? Yes, Abdul Wahid, you have the order of energy? Yes. So tell me, which subshell? 1S, very good. How many electrons can the S subshell hold? How many electrons can the S subshell hold? How many electrons can the S subshell hold? Okay, you're not audible, but I think you're not saying it rightly. It is 2 electrons. Please start studying 1s2. Okay. Now after 1s2, we have the 2s subshell. Now in the 2s, S subshell holds how many electrons, Heshma? Maximum how many electrons can the S subshell hold, Heshma?
2 electrons.
2 electrons, right? So 2s will also hold how many? 2 electrons. We are done with 4 electrons. We are remaining 24 electrons. Now after 2s, there is 2p. 2p subshell can hold select 6 electrons. So obviously we will fill 6. Now we are done with 6 plus 4, that is 10. So we are left with 18 more electrons. Then the next subshell is 3s, that will hold 2 electrons. Then there is 3p with 6 electrons. Then 4s with 2 electrons. And then 3d with 8 electrons. Okay, this is very simple. But until and unless you start using your pen and paper, start writing something, you won't get it. You won't get this whole order if you just try sitting there and you think that I will get the whole order at a time. No, it cannot happen like that. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to start slowly, right? First you will fill in the lowest energy subshell, and that subshell is what? That is the 1s subshell, right? That is the 1s subshell. Then next until all electrons are filled. Simple. But please remember that you have to start with at least 1s. Okay, then only you can do some mistakes, that's fine, but saying that you cannot get it, that's not right, because at least you can fill at least 2 electrons. Then you should see the order of energy, then you can fill the next electron. Similarly for Zn30, this will be 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, 3d10. Okay, so this is 10 electrons, and this is 10 electrons, and this is 10 electrons for 30 electrons. Now for fluorine, we have 1s2, 2s2, 2p5, right? Now this is 4 electrons, this 5 electrons gives me 9 electrons complete. Yeah. So this is very easy. Okay. You just have to start filling. But until and unless you start using your pen and paper, you cannot do it. Okay. You cannot do it. So please start using pen and paper. Please start with 1s2 slowly, slowly. Okay. For carbon, it will be simple. 1s2, 2s2, 2p. How many electrons will be there in 2p? Can everyone write in the chat? How many electrons should I fill in the 2p? Carbon has total of 6 electrons. We have filled already how much, and how much do I need to fill in the p? Yes, Heshma, correct. What about Abdul Wahid? How many electrons should I fill in the p? Yes, Heshma and Shoaib are right. We have already filled two. Sorry, we have already filled 4. Now 2 is left, so we'll fill just 2 more electrons. Now for aluminium, we have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6. Then we have filled 10, 3s2, and 3p1 and 3p1. Yes, Abdul Wahid, correct. 3p1. Okay. Now, please write one very important point. Valence shell. Okay. Valence shell. How to identify the valence shell? You have to just look at the maximum value of n. Okay, maximum value of n in electronic configuration. In electronic configuration. Okay. Then the next point is valence electron. Valence electron means number of electrons in valence shell. Okay, number of electrons in valence shell. And these are the 2 points that you have to always keep in mind. Okay, you have to keep in mind the valence shell and valence electron. What is the valence shell? You have to just look at the maximum value of n in the electronic configuration. That's it. Okay. Now, please look at the first question here, nickel 28. And can everyone send me in the chat what is the valence shell? So for example, in 1s, you know that this one here is the principal quantum number, right? So this, you have to just look at the numbers here. You have to just look at the numbers here and tell me which is the valence shell. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You will get a number in the answer. You just have to tell me the number. You don't have to tell me the subshell. Keep in mind, please keep that in mind. You have to tell me about the shell. Yes, Heshma, that is correct. Very good. And so Heshma, what is the valence electron? How many electrons are present in the valence shell?
2 electrons.
Yes, very good. 2 electrons. Okay. What about Shoaib, Abdul Wahid? Can you please answer that? Which shell is the valence shell? You have to just look at the maximum value of n. What about the next one, Heshma? Can you send me in chat now? Send me in chat the next valence shell. Yes, very good. Okay, for the third one, Heshma. For the third one. Now, that's what I am saying, Abdul Wahid. You don't have to tell me about the subshell. What I'm talking about is only the shell. Okay. Now, shell, it does not care about the subshells. Okay. Now, yes, that is correct. For the third one, it is. Second shell is the valence shell. Abdul Wahid, please start studying the notes. Okay. You don't have clarity about shell and subshell. That's. I hope you understand what is a shell and what is a subshell. These are the shells. These are the shells, na? Principal quantum number. Okay, so these are the shells. Now, tell me what is the valence electron, Heshma, in the chat, please, for the third question. How many electrons are valence electron? Yes, very good. What about Abdul Wahid? Can you count the number of electrons in the valence shell? Number of electrons in the valence shell. Faib, are you here? Third one, yes, Abdul Wahid.
Yes, sir.
So why I'm not receiving any answers? Yes, for the third one, Abdul Wahid. This is 2s, this is 2p, okay? They both have the shell that is 2. Okay, they both have the shell that is 2. And both of these 2s and 2p, they are present in the valence shell, that is the second shell. So how many electrons are present? You have to see here, that is 2 electrons here and 5 electrons here. That will make a total of 7 electrons which are valence, okay? 7 electrons which are valence. Now, here you will have 4 electrons valence, and here you will have 3 electron valence, okay? Here you will have 3 electrons valence. So you just have to look at the shell, okay? No matter the subshell, you don't have to look at the valence subshell. You have to look at the valence shell, okay? You have to look at the valence shell. So please write this down. If you are done, please raise your hand. Then we can move a bit forward. Okay, only Hishma is done. What about Abdul Wahid and Shoaib? Okay, all right. Now write a bit about magnetic moment. Okay, now write a bit about magnetic moment. What is magnetic moment? Whenever there is unpaired number of electrons, then we see that it has some kind of magnetic moment. For example, if I look in these subshells, so the last electron which is filled in the d orbital, it is like this. This is the d orbital. The d subshell is like this, and it has 5 orbitals. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Electrons are filled like this: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I can see that these electrons, these are paired, but this is unpaired electron and this is unpaired electron, right? But if I look at the Zn atom, the 3d10, it is completely filled. Now for fluorine, if I make the valence subshell, the last subshell here, where the electron is being filled, we have this kind of orbital with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. There are 5 electrons, and there is only 1 electron which is unpaired. Similarly, if I look at carbon, carbon has 2 electrons unpaired. 1 electron, 2 electron, right? These are 2 electrons unpaired. And the last electron which is filled in the aluminium is this electron, and this electron is unpaired. So I hope you can understand where you have unpaired electrons and where you don't have the unpaired electrons. Now, what the unpaired electron it gives us is the magnetic moment of an atom. An atom can also have some kind of, it can show magnetic behavior, and that magnetic behavior is due to the unpaired electron. So please write with me here, magnetic moment. Magnetic moment, okay? It is denoted by mu. It gives the idea about magnetic behavior of magnetic behavior of a substance. substance that contain unpaired electrons. Substances that contain unpaired electron are called as paramagnetic. They show magnetic properties. Substance that don't contain unpaired electron are called diamagnetic. They don't show magnetic properties. They don't show magnetic properties. After that, write the mu due to the s. Okay, the mu due to the spin of the electron, which is equal to under root n into n plus 2. Okay. Now, what is n here? N is the number of unpaired electrons. Number of unpaired electrons. This is very important. Please remember that this n is what? Number of unpaired electrons. The formula is n into n plus 2. The square root of n into n plus 2. Complete this down. Let me know if you're done. Okay. Now we will calculate the number of unpaired electrons and what is the magnetic moment. But before that, we need to understand the condensed electronic configuration. Condensed electronic configuration using noble gas. Using noble gases. Okay. Now, if we are going to use noble gases, then what do we have to do? We have to, first of all, the first thing is that we should learn what are those noble gases. Okay, what are those noble gases? So Heshma, do you remember the noble gases? The names?
Hydrogen.
What? Hydrogen? Yes, Heshma? Okay. Oh, okay, Abdul Wahid, let me scroll it up. Let me know if you're done, Abdul Wahid, okay? Okay, Abdul Wahid. So the noble gases are, please write the noble gases. These are helium. Helium has the atomic number of 2. After helium is neon. Neon has the atomic number 10. Argon is 18. Krypton is 36. Then it is xenon, it's 54. Then it is radon, it is 86. Okay, so first thing is that you have to remember this. Now the next thing is that you have to remember that this is the first noble gases. This is the second in number, third in number, fourth in number, fifth in number, and sixth in number. Okay, sixth in number. Now this is one part on how to write the electronic configuration using noble gases. Then there are a few steps involved. Okay, there are a few steps involved. The first step is that identify the noble gas, rather identify the nearest noble gas before the given element. Okay, before the given element. After that, you have to identify the noble gas number. What is the noble gas number? So for example, in the step 1, you have identified that helium is the noble gas, just the nearest noble gas before the given element. Then what is the noble gas number? Noble gas number will be 1. For example, if it is argon, then the noble gas number will be 3. Okay, so in the first step, you will identify one of these things, that is the noble gases. Then you will identify the noble gas number. Okay, let the noble gas number be X. Okay, let that noble gas number be X. Okay, that number be X. Okay, so if you have identified argon, what is X? X is equal to 3. The next point. Substitute X plus 1. Rather, I should write it like this. Substitute N is equal to X plus 1 in the formula. NS, N minus 2F, N minus 1D, NP. Okay, and the last point is that fill the remaining electrons. Okay, now I will give an example, but Heshma, you will help me in writing the electronic configuration using the noble gases. Okay, so my example here is the one we have done already, that is nickel 28. Okay, Heshma, tell me which noble gas is nearest before nickel. Can you identify that noble gas?
Argon.
Argon, right? So argon. Then you will write this argon in square brackets. Okay, then you will write this argon in square brackets. Okay, argon has how many electrons, Heshma?
18.
18. So as soon as you wrote, all of you, as soon as you wrote argon in the square brackets, you have already filled 18 electrons. Okay, so how many electrons have we filled as of now, Heshma? As soon as we wrote argon?
18 electrons.
18 electrons. Okay, now the next step is to identify the noble gas number. So tell me the noble gas number for argon. What is the noble gas number? 3, right? So what will be N? N will be how much?
3.
N will be X plus 1 now. So what is X? X is 3. So what will be N? Please try again, Heshma.
N will be 4.
N will be 4, right? Because the noble gas number that we have identified as X is equal to 3. So N is X plus 1, that is 3 plus 1. That is, in this case, it is 3 plus 1. That is why it will be 4. So we will start with 4s, right? We will start with 4s. Now, please remember that we have already filled 18 electrons. We have to only fill 10 electrons. So this will be 4s, 2. Now, how many more electrons remaining? 10 more electrons remaining, right? Yes or no?
8.
Yeah, 8 more electrons remaining. Very good. Now 8 more. So after for 8, we will write 3D 8. Okay, so this is the simple condensed electronic configuration. This is how we represent the electronic configurations when we use the noble gas. Okay, so it's pretty simple. It is just a few steps. Now you can also do this for phosphorus. Phosphorus is how much? Phosphorus is 15. Now, which noble gas should I put here, Ishma? In the
Neon.
bracket? Neon, right? Now, from where should I start? How much S? 1s, 2s, 3s. Where should I start with?
3s.
3s, right? So 3s, 2. Now, neon has already filled 10 electrons. Now we are filled with 12 electrons, 3 more to go, 3p3. Now, from here also, you can identify that. I can see the valence shell here is equal to 4. And the valence electron is equal to 2. Here also, I can see that valence shell is equal to 3 and valence electron is equal to 5. Okay. So please write the steps. Please understand each point. So we have to take the given noble gas. No. You have to identify the nearest noble gas before the element. So for example, give me an element, Abdul Wahed. For nickel, it was 28. Na? So what is the noble gas before 28? So 36 comes after 28, right? So before 28 is 18. That is for argon. So we have to identify it like that. Okay, Abdul Wahed? Is this the first time you are hearing this word noble gas? What do you maybe? Noble gases are the group 18 elements. You have seen the periodic table. Na? So in periodic table, the elements which are at the extreme right, those are known as the noble gases. Okay, so that are the noble gases. Yes, these are the only noble gases. This one is 86. Okay, so please write this down. Let me know if you're done. We're raising the hand. Abdul Wahid, raise your hand if you're done. Okay. Okay, now write a few questions. Write the electronic configuration for following. Rather, you should write the compact electron configuration. Okay, write the condensed electronic configuration for following. Determine the number of unpaired electrons. And calculate magnetic moment. Calculate magnetic moment. Okay. So I will do a few for you and then you can also start. Okay. I will do a few for you. So for example, A, let us take vanadium, which is atomic number 23. Okay. Atomic number is 23. So the nearest noble gas before 23, nearest noble gas before 23 is argon. And argon has already filled 18 electrons. So 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. So 5 more electrons to go. So I will write. After that will be argon is, yeah, third. So we'll start with 4, S2, 3D, 3. So we always look in the valence subshell, the last subshell which has in which the electron is going, and then draw that subshell. So for that subshell, I have to draw the D subshell, right? So I will draw the D subshell like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. and there are only 3 electrons which are filled in the d electrons. That is why the number of unpaired electrons is equal to how much? 3, and hence mu is equal to root under n into n plus 2. Now this is equal to how much? This is equal to root under 3 into 3 plus 2. This is equal to root under 3 into 3 plus 2 is 5, 15. So this is under root 15, and the unit is Bm. This is Bohr magneton. Bohr magneton. Okay, so this is the way how you are going to do the following problems. Okay, you will calculate the Bohr magneton. You will tell me the unpaired electrons. Okay, the only thing that you have to tell me is the number of unpaired electron in the chat box, nothing else. So please start writing.
Sir, you wrote 13.
I wrote 13. My bad. Sorry. I should write 15. Yeah. So please write gallium 31. Antimony 51. Fe26. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Okay, so please write this fast. Just one more minute. Okay, guys. So please look here for gallium. Gallium is 31. So the noble gas before gallium is what? It is argon again, which is 18. So start with argon. I've already filled 18 electrons. Now the remaining is 13 electrons. 13 electrons I have to fill, but I have to fill the 13 electrons. Where I have to fill the 13 electrons, I have to fill in the fourth. I should start with 4. So 4s2, 3d, 10, 4p1. 4p1. Now, as you can see that if I make the p subshell like this with 3 orbitals, I will fill only 1 electron. This one electron is the unpaired electron. That is, mu will be equal to under root 1 into 1 plus 2. This will be equal to under root 3 Bohr magnetron. 3 Bohr magnetron. Now then there is antimony, which is 51. So for antimony 51, I will start with, now argon is 18, then krypton is 36. So I will start with krypton. Now krypton is the it is the noble gas number 4. So I will start with 5s2. Then this will be 4d10. And how many more electrons do I have to fill? This is 36, right? So it's 36. I have to fill 5p antimony, right? So 3 more electrons, I guess. 36. And then you have, 3 more electrons. This will give me 51. So when I draw the p subshell like this, 1 electron, 2 electron, and 3 electrons. So mu will be equal to the number of unpaired electrons is equal to 3. So that is by under root 3 into 3 plus 2, which will give me under root 15 Bohr magnetron. Then it's Fe26. So again, I will start with argon. Argon is 4s2, 3d6, 4s2, 3d6. Now, then we will have the d subshell like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 here, 5. Start with 1 electron, 2 electron, 3 electron, 4 electron, 5 electrons, and the 6th electron is here according to the Pauli's exclusion principle and the Hund's rule. We have got 4 unpaired electrons. So mu will be equal to under root 4 into 4 plus 2. So that is equal to 24. So this will be under root 24 Bohr magnetron. If you can simplify furthermore, 24 can be simplified. You can simplify it further. Now for potassium, potassium will start with argon. Argon is 18. We have to fill only 1 electron. That is why this will be 4s1. Sorry, not 3s. This will be 4s1. We'll make the s subshell like this with 1 orbital. And this has only 1 electron. That is the number of unpaired electrons is equal to 1. That is, the mu will be equal to under root 1 into 1 plus 2, which will be equal to under root 3 Bohr magnetron. Okay, so please copy this. If you have any doubt here, please let me know. Okay, but if you don't start picking up the pen, start doing at least the electronic configuration. Until and unless you are done with electronic configuration, you will never know about the magnetic moment, the valence shell, the valence electron. Okay, so the applications of electronic configuration is huge. So you have to first be very comfortable with writing the electronic configuration. In 11th standard, you have to master the electronic configuration, and there are multiple questions that you can solve with the electronic configuration. The valence shell, the valence electron. In the 3rd chapter, you will see how we solve for valency. Then you will see how do we solve for magnetic moment. You have seen. Then you will see how the redox reaction, how the oxidation or reduction happen according to this electronic configuration, many things. So if you are not comfortable with electronic configuration, please let me know. Okay, maybe we can have another session for electronic configuration, but you have to be very comfortable, but you have to put efforts. You have to put efforts. You have to start with your pen and paper. Let me know if you're done writing these so we can move on. Okay. Now, for electronic configurations only, there are a few more questions. Let me just lower your hands. The whole soul of these exercises are the electronic configurations. Okay, so write the 4 quantum numbers. Write the 4 quantum numbers for the last electron of following. For the last electron of the following. So what does this mean? We have to look at the last electron which is being filled, and then we have to write the electronic configuration. Then we have to write the electronic configurations. Okay. I mean, we will write the electronic configuration. From there, we will see which is the last electron. And for that, we have to write the quantum numbers. So for example, let us start with a simple one. For example, you have cobalt 27. You have cobalt whose atomic number is 27. So we'll start with electronic configurations. Okay. Let's start with electronic configuration. We'll start with argon. Then you will have 4s2. Then you will have 3d7. Now, when you are done with 3d7, what you are going to do is you have to make a d subshell like this, the orbital diagram of d subshell with 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 orbitals. Okay, 5 orbitals. Then you will fill the 7 electrons. How will you fill? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Now, these d subshells, they are organized in this way: -2, -1, this is 0, this is +1, and this is +2, +1 and +2. Now, when we were filling the electrons, we saw that the last electron is this electron, which is the last electron. This downfill, yeah, this electron is the last electron. So we have to write all the quantum numbers for that electron. Now, as we can see that it is in the third shell. So n is equal to 3. Now L, since it is in the d subshell, the L will be equal to 2. The M, the magnetic quantum number, you can look at the orbital diagram and then you can assign the signs, the digits, that is -1. You can assign the digit -1 in which it has been filled. Then you have to write the S, the spin. As you can see, it is down spin. You can write it -half. Okay. So for more example, please see. Please write one more example. Let us take bromine 35. Let's take bromine 35. Bromine 35. Now, this will be also filled by argon 18. We will start with argon 18 because the nearest noble gas, which is before bromine, is argon. After bromine, you can have the nearest in absolute sense, it is krypton, but before bromine, we just have argon. Then we'll start with 4s2, 3d10. Then we will have 4p5. We will have 4p5, okay, because argon is 18. And as you can see that 5 plus 2, that is 7 and 17. So 18 plus 17, it will give you 35. 4p5. So we'll make the 4p. So this is 4p, p subshell with 1 orbital, 2 orbital in the third orbital. Here you have 0, here you have -1, and here you have +1. Now, then I have to fill 5 electrons. How will I start? I will start with upspin 1 electron, 2 electron, third electron, fourth electron, and the fifth electron, right? Now, after that, n is equal to how much? N is equal to 4. L is equal to, the p subshell is what? The p subshell is 1. M is equal to, we have filled the last electron. This is the last electron that we have filled. This is the last electron. And this is in the 0th M, okay? The value of M is 0. And it is again downspin. It is downspin. That is why S will be equal to -half. So please guys do this, okay? The only important thing is the electronic configuration. You have to put efforts for electronic configuration. So please write. Let us say you have sulfur 16. Sulfur 16. Please write the electronic configuration, draw this, then write the quantum numbers. I'm giving you 2 minutes for this, okay? Not more than 2 minutes. At least what I want is that you write the electronic configuration at least, okay? The quantum number part you can understand, but first you have to understand the electronic configuration, write the electronic configuration. Ishmael has given me the answer. So let me start. Sulfur, it is 16, the nearest noble gas. Before sulfur will be neon, which is 10. We have already filled 10 electrons. This is the second one. So we'll start with 3s. So 3s2 and 3p. Yeah, 6 more electrons. So you have filled 2, 3p4. I will make the p subshell like this. 1, 2. And 4 electrons, 1 electron, 2 electron, and the third electron. The fourth electron will be here. So -1, 0, +1. N will be equal to 3. L is equal to 1. M is equal to -1. S will be equal to -half. Yes, Ashma, you are correct. Very good. Please copy this. Raise your hand if you are done. I'm waiting for Abdul Wahid and Shoaib. Okay, now. There are a few electronic configurations which are anomalous. That means they don't follow the off-bow principle. Okay, they don't follow the off-bow principle. Now, to understand those, there are in total 20. Okay, but you have to just you have to know the reasons of just 2. You have to know the reasons for only 2. That is copper and chromium. That is copper and chromium. Please write anomalous electronic configurations. Anomalous electronic configuration. Now, in anomalous electronic configuration, the first point is that there are few atoms, rather I should say few elements don't follow the off-bow principle in filling of electrons in different subshells. Okay, in different subshells. There are a total of 20 such elements. Ten are in the D block. There are 10 are in the F block. Okay, but you have to just remember regarding the copper and chromium, and after that we will also learn why they have anomalous electronic configuration. Copper and chromium, why they have anomalous electronic configuration. Okay, so first of all, for copper, let us start with chromium because it is having a lower electronic configuration. Yeah. For chromium, okay, please mark this as important. Chromium. So chromium, the atomic number for chromium is 24. So we expected that it had to have 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s2, and 3d4. Okay, so this was the expected. Then, but this is the expected. What is the actual? Actual is like this: 1s2, 2s2, 2p6, 3s2, 3p6, 4s1, 3d5. Okay, so this is the change here. This is the actual electronic configuration. This is the actual electronic configuration. So first write this, then we will understand the reasons for copper and chromium together. Then write for copper. Copper is 29. The expected electronic configuration we thought it to be argon. You can also write this as argon, okay? Argon, 4s2, 3d9, this was expected. Then we had the actual one was argon, 4s1, 3d10. This is the actual. This is the actual electronic configuration. So first write this down. We will understand what is the reason behind that. What is the reason behind this? Then we will understand the reason, and after that we will learn the last part, that is the notes. We'll learn the last part, that is the notes. Just waiting for Abdul Wahid now. Abdul Wahid, let me know if you are done. Okay, Abdul Wahid is also done. Okay, so what is the reason for this anomalous electronic configuration? We expected it to be 4s2 and 3d4, but it is 4s1 and 3d5. And similarly in copper, we expected it to be 4s2 and 3d9, but it is 4s1 and 3d. Now, the special thing is these part that are this 4s2 is becoming 4s1 and 3d4 is getting 3d5. Okay, so there should be something very special about 3d5 and 3d10. And as you can already see that 3d5 and 3d10, these are half filled and fully filled configuration. Okay, these are half filled and fully filled configuration. So the reason must be that everything wants to get more stable. So the nature it wants to get to more stable configuration. Hence, the actual configuration should be much more stable configuration than the expected one. So that's the reason, okay? That's the reason we will write copper and chromium, or chromium and copper, like this. Copper 24 and chromium 24 and copper 29 show anomalous electronic configuration anomalous electronic configuration of due to higher stability of half-filled and fully filled, half-filled and fully filled orbitals. Half-filled and fully filled orbitals. Okay, not orbitals. Let us write subshells. Subshell is a better word here. Filled and fully filled subshells. Okay, half-filled and fully filled subshells. Now, the question is, why are the half-filled and fully filled subshells more stable? Okay, now this is one, if you are going to explain why copper and chromium are having anomalous behavior, the first thing that you will do is you will write this point, then you will explain the expected and actual forms. And after that, you will also give them the reasons why half-filled and fully filled are more stable, why half-filled and fully filled are more stable. So to understand that, see, the first very important and easy thing that we can look, that is the symmetrical distribution of electron. Okay, so you will write half filled and fully filled. So half filled and fully filled, half filled and fully filled subshells are more stable due to, the first reason is that symmetrical distribution of electron. Now in nature we have seen everything is symmetrical, and whenever something is symmetrical we find that it has more stable, it is more stable configuration, and it is lower in energy. That is why we have 3d5 and 3d10, both are symmetrical distribution. Now the next point is that as we can see here from the 4s2 and 3d4, let us make these configurations. Okay, so you will not write these points, whatever I'm writing right now, we'll just look here. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, now I will make the actual and the expected both. So first of all, if you look at chromium 24, this is the expected, this is the actual. In expected we had 2 electrons here, and we had 1, 2, 3, 4 electrons here. In actual we had 1 electron in each of these orbitals. As we can already see that here these are 2 electrons and here there is only 1 electron. That is why there will be less repulsion between the electrons. There will be less repulsion between the electrons. Hence the second point is that less electron repulsion. What is the result of less electron repulsion? The result of less electron repulsion is that increase in the result of less electronic repulsion is that there is increase in the attraction by the nucleus. Increase in the attraction by the nucleus. Right? Electrons are tightly held by nucleus. Now, after that, there is the last one. Now, this is for copper 29. Here we have the expected, and here we have the actual. Here we had 2 electrons, and here we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. So this is the electronic configuration for copper. This is 9, and yeah, this is 10. Yeah. So why is this copper like this? It is because in chromium also you can see that. See, this electron can also move here. It can also move here. They can exchange their places, right? They can exchange their places. Similarly, here also, all these electrons, all these 10 electrons, they can exchange their places, right? Now, whenever there is some charge, and you give it more area, and you spread it around over a more area, then what happens? Then the energy, it decreases and there is stability. So whenever there will be a charge, we will look for the delocalization of charge, delocalization or spreading. Okay, or spreading. Whenever there is a charge, we will try to spread it to make it more stable. Whenever there will be a charge, this will be very helpful in organic chemistry when we'll be learning about organic chemistry. So whenever you will be seeing a charge, if you spread the charges along, the energy will be lower and stability will be increased. So the last point is that, and since here the electrons are exchanging the places, now the energy that is released by the exchanging of places, it is known as exchange energy. So when we have these type of half-filled and fully filled configuration, the exchange energy is larger. So right, larger exchange energy. Larger exchange energy. Okay, so please start writing from here. Let me know if I have to scroll down or up. Okay. Anomalous electronic configuration. Hishma, by the way, you sent a question yesterday, right?
Yes, sir.
So you got how to solve it?
Yeah.
Was it okay? So I didn't solve it completely. I just gave you an idea how to solve it. Okay.
Yeah, sir. My teacher did it on the board, but I couldn't get it up, so I asked.
Acha, that is right. But you got my answer, right? What is happening
Yes,
here?
sir. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Sir?
Yes, can you scroll down?
No, sir. Will we be able to complete the portions by January?
No.
But my
By
exams are on starting like on Feb.
by Jan, but there will be some small chapters that would be remaining. So majority of the portion will be done. I mean, my aim is to complete by the second week of February, the complete portion. But most of the things will be done. Okay. Now, if you want, then you can also have some recording. But the live classes, I don't think I will be completing everything till January. But majority, maybe one chapter would be left. Okay, Hishma.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So maybe one chapter would be left, but I will be completing it. When did you start Hishma classes? Your first class was in September or October only? September end, na?
Class 11th?
No. Here at Learnio.
Yeah, I joined recently.
In October only.
No, I think September.
September end, na? Yeah. That's
Yeah.
28 or something September. And in your school, when did they start school? 12th of September.
April, I guess.
April they have started. So you imagine, you should be understanding why we cannot complete in such a short time, right? In till
Yes,
January.
yeah.
Let me know if I have to scroll down. Okay. Let me know if I have to scroll down.
So these shells also should be drawn?
This part.
Yeah, the
Uh,
shell.
no, it's up to you. You don't have to draw this when you are answering somewhere in the subjective questions. Okay. So, for example, you just list out these 4 points, and that's it. The half-filled substance. You have to understand. Just for understanding, I have made these things. Symmetrical distribution of electron is very visible, but for these, I have to draw this to explain. You don't have to write it. Stuff. Let me know if you're done. Okay.
Done, sir.
Okay, you're done. What about others? Shoaib and Abdul Wahid? Let me know if you are not done, okay? Shoaib and Abdul Wahid, let me know if you are not done. Write the concept of node, okay? Concept of node. What is orbital? Orbital and nodes, these are just opposite. Orbital is that area around the nucleus where the probability of finding electron is maximum. The node is opposite. At node, the point where the probability of finding electron is 0, we call that as node. So it is just polar opposite of orbital. Orbital is that area in which finding the electron is, the probability of finding the electron is maximum, but in node, the probability is 0. So what is a node? Simple definition. The point where the probability of finding electron is 0 is called as node. And these nodes, they are of two types. Some nodes are distance dependent and some nodes are direction dependent. So we have classified them as radial nodes. Radial nodes. We also call them or spherical nodes. Right? Radial nodes or spherical nodes. Now these are given by the number of radial nodes is equal to the value of n minus L minus 1. So wherever you are given a subshell, you want to find the number of radial nodes, what you will do, you will subtract n minus L minus 1. For the nodes which are dependent on the direction, okay, now one more point is that these are distance dependent. These are distance dependent. As for angular nodes, these are what? Angular nodes. These are direction dependent, and the number of angular nodes is equal to the value of L. It's the value of L. Okay, these are direction dependent. So please write this. We will do a few questions on radial nodes and angular nodes, and then after that we will look at closer picture of radial nodes in 1s, 2s, 3s, right? Then 2p, 3p, 4p, and so on. First, write this down. Raise your hand if you're done. Mine is done. What about others? Write a question now. Calculate the numbers of radial node and angular node in following. calculate the number of radial nodes and angular nodes in the following. Okay, so for A, let us start with simple, that is 1s. The number of radial nodes is equal to the value of n minus the value of L minus the value of minus 1. So the n is here, n is 1, principal quantum number n is 1 minus L. For S, L is equal to 0 minus 1, which is also equal to 0. For angular node is equal to value of L, that is the azimuthal quantum number. So this is also what equal to 0. Now, similarly, we can find for anyone. Okay, for B, let us say we have 4f. Now here, the number of radial nodes is equal to n minus L minus 1. So the principal quantum number is 4 minus L is equal to, for f it is 3 minus 1. This will be equal to how much? Again 0. So radial node is equal to 0. Let's talk about angular node. It is equal to the value of L. L, the azimuthal quantum number here is equal to how much? That is equal to 3. Okay, so it is a simple thing. If you know the values of n and n, then you can easily calculate the number of angular nodes and radial nodes. For example, if we have something like, let us say 3p. So radial node is equal to 3 minus 1 minus 1, which is equal to 3 minus 2, which is equal to 1. So there is one radial node and 3p. Let's talk about angular nodes. Angular node will be equal to the value of L. The value of L for p is equal to how much? It is equal to 1. Right? It is equal to 1. So number of angular node will be equal to 1. One angular nodes will be present in 3p. Okay, so please write this down. After completing this, I will give you a few questions. If you have any doubt, please ask me now regarding the angular nodes and radial nodes and how to calculate them. The main thing is calculation as of now. We will explain how it is radial node and how it is angular nodes later, but as of now, it is main is calculation to determine the number of radial nodes and angular nodes. You just have to note the values of azimuthal quantum number and the principal quantum number. That's it. Questions? Calculate for the following the number of angular nodes and radial nodes. Okay. Send the answers in chat. Okay. Yes, correct, Heshma, for D and E. F, yeah, correct for G. Yeah, G is also correct, right? For H, yeah, correct. So angular node is just equal to the values of L. That is why this will be having one node, this will be 0, this will be having SPD2, SPD2, this will be having 0 nodes. Okay, now let us calculate the values of radial nodes. Okay, radial nodes. So this will be n minus L minus 1. So 2 minus 2, which is equal to 0. N minus L 3 minus 1, which is equal to 2. N minus, okay, this will be 0. For D, we will have n minus L, this will be 1. And for 5, you will have n minus L minus 1. 5 minus 1, which is equal to 4. Okay. So yeah, these are the answers for the questions. 0, 2, 0, 1, and 4. Okay, Heshma, yeah, okay, but not much of the class is left. I will just explain a few things, and maybe we will be ending up 15 minutes before. Okay, so if you come in 10 minutes or so, then we can, it will be fine. Okay, Heshma?
Okay, sir.
Yeah, you can leave. That's fine. You can come back. Now let us analyze, that is do analysis of a few things, that is the radial nodes and the angular nodes. Okay, radial nodes and the angular nodes. So analysis of radial nodes. Analysis of radial nodes. So in radial nodes, we have 1s. Let us start with radial node of 1s. Number of radial nodes equal to n minus L minus 1, which is equal to how much? Which is equal to 1 minus 0 minus 1, which is equal to 0. Let's start for 2s. Radial node is equal to n minus L minus 1. So this is equal to 2 minus 0 minus 1, which is equal to 1. For 3s, the radial node is equal to n minus L minus 1 again, which is equal to 3 minus 0 minus 1, which is equal to 2. Now, what are these radial nodes? So these are distance dependent, and they look somewhat like this. Now, this is a good thing that I can paste some pictures. No, it is not. Let me copy this first. Copy image and paste it. It is being loaded. So as you can see, let me just enlarge this a bit, and now in this picture, as we can see that if we have the 1s don't have any nodes, but as we can see in 2s, let me enlarge it a bit. Need to crop it a bit. Let me see if I can crop this. No, I can enlarge it a bit more. Yeah. So in this part, we can see that when we have 2s, there is this part which does not have any electron density. You can view this again. This part is the node which does not have any electron density. Now, in 3s, we have this small part where the electron density is minimum, where is 0. And there is this part again, where the electron density is 0. where the electron density is 0. These are the two nodes in the 3s that we have calculated, and there is only one node in the 2s as we have already seen. So this is the pictorial representation, and this is we calculate the radial node in 2s. We will calculate the radial nodes in 2p also, but first write this. Let me know when you're done. Let me know if you have written these parts here. And then you can draw these type of images, okay? Let me erase this. So for 1s, you can draw something like this. So you can shade this complete part. There is no node in 1s. In 2s, there is a small part inside which does not have anything. Just the electron density is proper here, but there is a small part where there is some electron density not to be found. Then there is an outer part where you can find the electron density like this. So in between there is one small part where the electron density is not present, and that is the node. So this part here, this is the node. Okay, this is the node. Okay, this is the node. Similarly, for the 3s, we will have a small part where there is electron density, the starting. Okay. There will be electron density here, but as we move away, we will get a node. Let me just increase this a bit in size. And you place it here. And then we can have electron density here also. This part will also have some electron density. As we can see, this is one node, okay? And there will be another one node. Make a this part here. This also has some electron density. There are two nodes in the 3s. So these are the two nodes of the 3s. Okay, so you can make these. And as we can see that these nodes are distance dependent. Okay, these nodes are distance. See, you have a node here, and then Now, wherever you go in the same distance, there will be a node. Then there is a node here. And wherever you go this far from the nucleus, you will get a node that is the electron density is 0 there. That is why these are known as distance dependent nodes. Okay, these are known as distance dependent nodes. Please write this down. Abdul Wahid and okay, Shoaib is done. Abdul Wahid, are you done? Let me know. Okay. Now you can write for, let us look at the nodes of 2p, 3p, and 4p. So for 2p, we have this is D, right? This is 2p. Now in 2p, number of radial nodes is equal to, again, it is equal to n minus L minus 1. Now n is equal to 2 minus L is equal to 1 minus 1, which is equal to 0. Now that is why when we have 2p, 2p, as you know that it will be in some axes here. Okay. So let's say it is something like this. Something like this, okay? Now you will have 3p, in which the radial node will be equal to n minus L minus 1, which is equal to 3 minus L is equal to 1 minus 1, which is equal to 1. 3 minus 2, which is equal to 1. Okay, so I have made this. If I want to make a 3p, it is bit bigger. This will be black. And I can paste this first. Get this here. There will be a small part which is like this, but there will be again a node, after which there will be again some electron density. This part here, this is one node. This is one node. Also, as you can see that whether you go from here to this distance or this distance, the distance is same here. That is why this is known as only one node. This is one node. Now, the C for 4p will have radial node is equal to n minus L minus 1, which is equal to 4 minus 1 minus 1, which is equal to 4 minus 2, which is equal to 2. Now, I can again draw the same things like this. Now, here you will have one more node like this. There will be a part where there will be no electrons, and then there will be some electron density after that. Here also you will have something like this. Okay, so these are the two nodes here. These are the two nodes. You can draw for 2p, 3p, and 4p. Then we will see the angular nodes. Write this down, 2p, 3p, 4p. After that, we will look at the angular nodes. Okay, so write angular nodes. So we will look at angular nodes of, first of all, the s orbitals, okay? S orbitals. Now we know the value of s subshell is equal to 0, L is equal to 0. That is why whether you have 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, 6s, 7s, all they have angular node is equal to 0. Okay, it is equal to the value of L. The value of L is equal to 0. So there is nothing much here to look at the s orbital. But let us look at the p orbital. That is the second one, p orbital. Here the value of L is equal to how much? It is equal to 1. Now, so the number of angular nodes will be equal to 1. Will also be equal to 1. For that, we have to look at the p subshells. Okay, so let me okay, this one. Yeah. So these are the 3 p subshells. Okay, these are the 3 p orbitals of the p subshell. Now here we have px, py, and pz. Here we have px, py, and pz. We know that when in the px, we have the electron density only in the x-axis, right? Here we have the electron density. Here we have the electron density. So here we have left with the yz plane. The yz plane, it does not have any electron density, and that is the angular node, that it is distance dependent. No, sorry, not distance dependent, it's direction dependent. Direction means it is either dependent on the axis. It is dependent on the axis. So when we are looking at the px, that means y and z they don't have. Now y and z, these are directions, and they don't have electron density. That is why these angular nodes are known as direction dependent. So in px, we don't have the yz plane, the nodal plane. We say that nodal plane, right? The nodal plane is, for px, it is yz is the nodal plane. Now when you have the electron density in the y-axis like this, you have the xz plane where there is no electron density, right? So the nodal plane for py is equal to the xz. Now when you have the electron density in the z, we don't have any electron density in the xy plane. That is why this nodal plane is known as xy nodal plane. This nodal plane is known as xy nodal plane. This is the py, so this is the xz nodal plane. So px will have the nodes in the yz plane, py will have in the xz plane, pz will have in the xy plane. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to make this part here like this, all these. Then what you can do, you can make the planes where you don't have any electron density. So sorry, not this. For example, this plane here, you don't have any electron density here, right? So this is the y-axis, this is the y-axis, and this is the z-axis. Here you don't have any electron density. If I am looking at the py, we have the xz, right? So xz is this plane here, this plane do not have any electron density. Now, similarly, in the pz, you have this whole xy plane. Here you don't have any electron density. You can shade this part just to let you know that these are the nodal planes. Please remember, these are the nodal planes. Whether they ask about the angular nodes or the nodal planes, they mean the same thing. Angular nodes are also known as nodal planes. So please write this, raise your hand if you're done. Then we will look at the d orbitals. Raise your hand if you're done. Now for the d orbitals, okay, for the d orbitals. We know that L is equal to 2. So you will have the angular nodes is equal to value of L, which is equal to how much? Which is equal to 2. Now let us look at the d orbitals first, and then we can understand where are the nodal planes. We have to look at the nodal planes. Okay. So let me just paste a picture of nodal. Yeah. These are the d orbitals. Okay, these are the d orbitals. Now, in this, I will be pointing out the nodal planes here. I will be pointing out the nodal planes in some different color. Yeah. So please look here in the dxy. Okay, in the dxy, I can see that we have the electron density where we have the electron density in this directions. Here we have, here we have, here we have. Okay, but this whole axis of x and y, they don't have any electron density, right? So we don't have any electron density here. Okay, sometimes it just breaks everything. It will not depend there. So this part here, it does not have any electron density. This part here, it does not have any electron density. Similarly, this axis here and this axis here. As we can see, all these d orbitals having two planes in which there is no electron density. Two planes in which there is no electron density. What about here? Here we don't have electron density in the this plane. I need to draw it a bit. We don't have any electron density here. We don't have any electron density in this part. Now, what about this here? So for this, there is an explanation that there is conical type of plane like this, where we don't find any electron density. Here we have this type of node. These are the two nodes of the dz square also. These are the two nodes of dz square also. Okay. So this part and this part here, these are nodes. These two are also nodes. These two are also nodes. Here you have these two nodes. This one is node and this one is node. Here we have these two nodes. These two. So when you have the electron density in the xy, then the nodal plane is the z plane. Okay, the nodal plane is the z plane, and in the z plane we have the xz. There is no electron density in the xz plane, and there is also no electron density in the yz plane. Okay, there are xy planes, yz plane, and xz planes. So in xy, you just have the electron density in xy. Yz and xz, they don't have any electron density. Hence, when you have dzx, now in dzx, you will have the electron density, but there will be no electron density in the xy plane, and there will be no electron density in the yz plane. When you have the electron density in the yz plane, there will be no electron density in the xy plane, and there will be no electron density in the xz plane. Now in the x square, y square, what we can see that these are the two diagonally, yeah, their nodal plane are, we can write nodal plane are in between axis. And these are the conical nodal planes. These are the conical nodal planes. So write this for d orbitals. Then we are done for today. And from the next class, what we can do is we can start with the history of atomic structure. Okay, we can start with the history of atomic structure. Raise your hand if you have drawn these 5 d orbitals. And their nodal planes. Heshma, are you done?
No, sir.
Okay. So the little portion that you missed. So do you watch the lectures afterwards when it gets uploaded? Yeah, Heshma.
So what were you teaching then?
I was teaching this part just. You wrote for P, na? So we were
Yeah.
just done with the angular nodes of S and the radial nodes of these parts I was teaching. Analysis of radial nodes, 1s, 2s, 3s. Okay. Do you want me to share the PDF?
Yeah, sir. That will.
That will be better. Okay. So wait, so you can write the d orbitals from the PDF also, right? Also,